What is going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. I'm also the Director of Research at LeDuc Trading. It is January 26th, 2021. Please, please, please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. The goal for me for this year is to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers to the channel. So if you could help me out by sharing this content, that would be awesome. Today we're going to be talking about the price action, the indices. We'll go under the hood and check out the sectors and style factors. We'll take a look at some of the trades that I took, and then we'll wrap up with some options order flow. But before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer as always. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. Unless it's Gamestop. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So let's jump right in. We have our S&P 500 down 0.16% today. We had the NASDAQ QQQ up 0.15%. We had the IWM small caps down 0.69%. And we had the Dow Jones down 0.08%. And the price action today was a bit perplexing for me, to say the least. We will take a look at that when we dive under the hood. But for right now, we have our ES futures here. And this is the hourly chart. And you can see that, we have a bunch of catalysts coming up this week. So like we had AMD earnings post, in the after hours today. They ended up beating estimates and raising guidance. I believe AMD is pretty much flat in the after hours. We had Microsoft report today as well. They had a really nice report. Beating expectations, and they are trading higher in the after hours. Let's see. I'm actually going to pull them up real quick. I believe they were trading up maybe like 3%. And if you've been watching my videos, you know that I am long some XLK calls. And really the catalyst was these earnings. The XLK ETF, it's a technology ETF. It has 20% of the fund in Microsoft. So I'm pretty pumped that they did a good job today. And let's see. Oh my gosh. Did Microsoft just do nothing? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so Microsoft, you can see up in the after hours market. Nothing too crazy. Up to about 243. But if you look at the daily chart, you can see it looks like this really nice earnings report was anticipated. So I entered my XLK calls a couple days ago. Maybe like on this candle or this candle. I forget which one it was. But yeah, you can see this is the daily chart that doesn't include the after hours move. And you can see, pretty nice breakout from the monthly value area. And for the past, 5 or so days, Microsoft has been up, each and every day. So pretty nice move for Microsoft. But yeah, our ES futures for now, we have Fed Wednesday coming up tomorrow. And we'll have to see what Jay Powell says. So the way I'm going into this meeting is, if Jay Powell mentions anything about tightening monetary policy, I will likely sell all of my holdings and go to cash. That's like how important it is that he keeps things, keeps the money spigot flowing. I really don't think he would talk about tightening monetary policy because I think the Fed knows that the economy's in a really tough spot and the markets are really all they have to hang their hat on. So saying they're going to tighten and jeopardizing the market, I think is too costly for them. So we'll have to see, what he says. The last Fed meeting, I remember when 2 o'clock hit and the headlines first started coming out. I remember the first headline that I saw, the language was very powerful and it was like, we will do whatever we have to do. And if we have to increase support, we will. It was like very in your face, like, there's no way you could have interpreted it as any sort of tightening or anything like that. So we'll have to see if these headlines that come out are similar. If they allude to anything like, excesses in the markets or, we'll have to see how long we need to keep these monetary conditions so loose. Like anything like that, that would definitely be a bit concerning, at least for me. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, the S&P 500... you can see yet another day of pretty much just dojiing sideways. There's a lot of people on Twitter that are, calling the top in the markets. saying a correction is imminent. I mean, they could certainly be right. But I just don't really see like why we have to get a correction. So I see we have these routine tags of the 20-day simple moving average. So who knows? We're getting a little bit more extended from the 20-day again. So maybe we'll get a pullback, to the 20-day. Who knows? That would definitely be pretty normal. But we'll have to see what happens. The small caps were a little bit softer today, but you can see that it's really nothing out of the ordinary either. Yeah, so the small caps, they closed below the 5-day EMA, so that's noteworthy. We'll have to see. The small caps have avoided the 20-day simple moving average for about a month now. So we'll have to see. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary at all for the small caps to tag this, 206 region and have a little bit of a retest. So we'll have to see. They've been very, very strong though. And then the NASDAQ QQQ I would imagine is going to remain strong tomorrow, just given Microsoft's earnings report. And yeah, you can see the Qs are pretty elevated, trading above that 5-day exponential moving average. So we'll have to see where the Qs go. Tomorrow we're going to have, after the bell, I'm looking at my little earnings sheet here, Apple after the close, Facebook after the close, and Tesla after the close. So a pretty big day. In the morning, not really as many like huge names in the indices. Like we have Boeing before the open, NASDAQ before the open. AT&T, not really as like meaningful names for the headline indices. So we will have to see what happens there. Let's take a look under the hood. Under the hood was very interesting for me. So if we take a look here, you can see that a lot of the very popular areas were completely sold off. So if you look, KWeb, which has been very strong, those Chinese internet names, down 1.78%. This thing has, had a pretty meteoric rise where it's really had very, very little in the way of pullbacks. And then you can see the Cannabis ETF was pretty strong today due to some headlines out of the Canadian companies. I believe like Tilray had a pretty nice headline out, and that sort of caused a spike along those. The XRT retail ETF was up 6.89% today. And the biggest holdings in that ETF, I think, are still like Magnite, which is a digital advertising company, and then Blink, which is an EV charging company. So kind of bizarre, but yeah, that one was up. But then if you look at where some of the selling occurred, the ARC Genomics Fund, which has been, a fan favorite, down 4.91%. The ARC Innovation Fund also down 3.3%. Really all of the ARC funds. And you can see, not too many sector ETFs were actually green on the day. Same thing if we look at these style factors, another defensive day. So we had high div, low vol, which is where you would go if you're sort of like concerned about the market, was up 1.16%. Then we had high beta just getting clubbed again, now in the worst spot in terms of momentum, down 1.61%. And yeah, you can see the other green areas were international value and defensives. So pretty, honestly, this could rhyme with some sort of pullback, where I'm just noticing a couple days consecutively where style factors like min-vol, like defensives, are doing pretty well, which is not really what you would see when things are like super risk on. So maybe it's just people getting prepared for the Powell press conference. Maybe they're getting prepared for, this earnings season and any volatility that could come from that. Who knows? But that is what I'm seeing in terms of just the price action. And let's see this ARC Genomics Fund. These ARC funds, I love to buy them on corrections. And I think what's so weird is that we're getting sort of like these rolling corrections where like we had cryptocurrencies correct. Now we're getting some of these like high momentum ETFs that are correcting. We have the cyclicals that are correcting. But the headline indices just seem to stay up because whenever one area of the market's correcting, another area of the market is doing really well. So like in this case, it's the mega cap tech companies that, are remaining pretty strong. And yeah, this ARC Genomics Fund, if we could get a tag of the 20-day simple moving average tomorrow, that would definitely be an interesting spot for me to add. And I'll actually be looking at that. Because like I said, I like to add to these, almost on every single correction. You can see here on this last correction, we actually dipped below the 20-day simple moving average for a couple of days before rebounding and taking the next leg up. So we'll have to see. That one's definitely going to be on my radar for tomorrow. And then we have, just some of the things I was watching today and some of my trades. Big C, which I still have on, had another really nice day. So you can see here, Big C. I have the March 70 strike calls, and those have about doubled at this point. I think they're up like 90%. But yeah, I added some calls here, added more on this second candle right here. I took off my ad on this candle, and I still have, the original calls on. And yeah, we got the really nice break out of the monthly value area. So, for me, a stock is uptrending when you're above that monthly value area. So now this is starting to look like a really nice bearish to bullish trend reversal. But I will say that now Big C is a bit extended from the 20-day, from the 50-day. And right now we have the 50-day moving average above the 20-day. What I'd really like to see to get a bullish trend reversal is this 20-day should eventually come up and cross above the 50-day. So we'll have to see what happens, but it's almost looking like that target at 98.25 could be a reality. And what I think is awesome is you see this area on the prior pivot high where we had some active sellers, coming in here and, we just kept wicking out. We actually closed. Oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. If we look at where we closed, we actually closed right at the same exact level to a T as this upper wick right here that I'm pointing to. So that's kind of funny. Like when people say like, oh, technical analysis doesn't even matter. Like I was so big into fundamental analysis before I ever touched technicals. And I've done so much better in the market when I started paying much more attention to technicals and much less to fundamentals. Now I'm starting to add the fundamentals back in a little bit to my game. But for me, it's like technicals first, fundamentals like a distant second. Yeah, you can see Big C. It might have some trouble, really surpassing this little region here. And I certainly wouldn't mind if we had a couple days of just, sideways or even a little bit of a pullback. So I'll have to see what happens with that one. Good RX. Another, pretty solid day, up 1.72%. I have the April 40 strike calls in this name. And we'll have to see. Running into a very similar situation as Big C where, you have this prior swing high and Good RX actually closed above it. So we'll have to see what happens. Now we're pretty much in the prior, post-IPO range. We were stuck in this range for quite some time. And then the news that Amazon was stepping into the pharmaceutical industry, sent this thing flying or plummeting lower. And now we're sort of back in that prior range. So I would love to see if we can get to this 58.69 level. As always, we will have to see what the river brings. Dragonfly is another one of my top holdings. This thing is just going, parabolic right here. So we'll have to see. I would love for Dragonfly to also consolidate sideways. Let this 5-day EMA sort of catch up with price. And I would likely add to my position again. So this one is turning out, funny enough, to be one of my bigger winners so far in this first month of trading. It's because I've just been progressively adding to it. And Dragonfly, I don't know what's going on here. They're going to be doing a business update January 28th. They have their uplisting to NASDAQ in the works. But it's getting a lot more attention now. So I'll have to see. Like, when I look at this stock, when I first started purchasing it, it was at less than $1. And it has tripled. And when I look at it, okay, it's $3.20 now. And it seems like, okay, that's a huge run from 90 cents. Maybe I should sell it. when I think about it, could this end up being a $10 stock? Maybe. So, for that reason, it's like, I'm just going to hang tight and keep playing it to the long side as long as it lets me before it just, bucks me off the bull. So we'll have to see. And I added some new positions today as well. Oh yeah, Nanox was one that I added the other day. Yeah, Nanox had a really nice day today. Oh my gosh, closed positive 28%. Let's go. So the other day, I was saying like I just felt like I had to get into Nanox because at some point it's going to run to $100 and I don't want to be not in the stock at that point. So yeah, Nanox, I entered very close to the highs of the day yesterday. Like I did not get a good entry. But luckily I was sort of bailed out where I ended up having a really nice close. So yeah, sort of just, I'm having some, I guess, like luck or good fortune in this first month of the year. So for me, it's important not to take it for granted because all these names can certainly turn around on a dime. So definitely just want to, keep my risk control at the forefront of my mind when things are going well. Then HAAC is a SPAC. It's a healthcare SPAC I added today. And so I already have CMLF, which is another healthcare SPAC on the books. Added this one as well. It's trading for pretty close to $12 a share. And I will just park some cash in here and kind of see what happens if they end up getting an acquisition or not. And then the other one was Celsius. Yes, Celsius. I posted about this one on the weekend. I ordered a case of Celsius and I actually just finished it. I tore through it pretty quickly. And, my girlfriend had some too. I wanted her to try it. And yeah, so Celsius, I remember I totally missed like this whole run. Like whoever's been in Celsius, definitely congratulations on that. Because I believe this was an earnings report over here, if I'm not mistaken. And this thing just entered into a really nice trend. Here it sort of started going parabolic. But now the 20-day simple moving average is starting to catch up with price. So I figured if I can get an entry on this stock, I want to get into it for the long term. So, took my entry today. Got in. I bought some April. I believe I picked up the 60 strike calls, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I bought the 65 strikes. I bought these a little bit out of the money. So picked those up for April for about like $10.50. And we'll have to see what happens with Celsius. The other one that I entered, this one I felt, there's some trades you enter and you're like, oh man, I don't know if this is going to work. This one I feel a little bit better about. So this company, Baozun, they announced a partnership with a company, I believe they're like iClick. It's like ICLK. And Baozun is apparently like a Chinese e-commerce company. And the company that they're partnering with is sort of like a digital marketing company. And the news was announced. One of the Leduc Trading members actually posted it, which was awesome. I never would have seen it otherwise. And, this stock, I kind of let it go for the rest of the day. I think when that person posted it, it's probably like down here. So I could have gotten in way earlier. But one thing that really interested me, and I ended up taking a call spread in this name, I bought the 45 by 50 call spread for March. I wanted to buy for February, but the market makers, they didn't even have the 50 strikes available because this name had such a crazy run today. But one thing that really interested me was we have a VPOC up here at around like $52.88. This reminds me of a very similar setup to Baidu that I played really nicely in late 2020 and into early 21. When I look at this weekly chart, just very similar setup. Not saying it's going to end up being another Baidu, but yeah, you can see it peaked in what looks like late 2018. Yeah, mid 2018 at like $64. And it's sort of been on a downtrend. And now we sort of based out. And on this, really nice news catalyst, we're having a little bit of a breakout. You can see we just broke out of the yearly value area. So we'll have to see. The other thing that really intrigued me, so we have that technical level, nice news catalyst, and then I also saw this. So I like using this Simply Wall Street just to get like a really quick and dirty look at fundamentals. So when I looked up this company, Baozun, I see the snowflake analysis looks pretty good here. I always like to look at this little future snowflake. How's the company forecast to perform in the next 1 to 3 years? Looks pretty good. And I saw this trading at 36.2% below our estimate of its fair value. When I looked at this, their fair value, they pretty much just take, analyst estimates and they build a discounted cash flow based on it. And like I've built DCF models, way back in the past. So it's something where I'm like, I know this isn't the end all be all, but it's certainly nice to see like if somebody does a DCF and it comes out, undervalued based on the projected future cash flows. So I saw like, okay, the fair value for this is 55.69. Now you have like the technical like fire behind the stock where people are jumping in. We also have that VPOC up here. So I was like, this is kind of a no-brainer. When the stock was maybe at, I believe it was like, when it was trading at maybe like $46, I think that's when I entered my call spread. And I got the 45 by 50 call spread for about $2.10. So that, max loss of $2.10, max gain of $2.90. But the thing is, even if we just blow through 50 tomorrow, my call spread is for March. So in order for me to realize the value in the call spread, more time is going to have to elapse, which I'm comfortable with. I would have rather gotten the February call spread, but we'll see what happens. And then really quick, that about does it for my trades for today. And then we'll take a quick look at some options order flow. I believe I saw some Q's orders going up. Let's see, I'm just logging in here. Yeah, the one thing that was kind of weird, again, like my Expedia got destroyed today. My Norwegian cruise lines got destroyed also. Everything with like cyclicality and high beta is just on the mat. And I'm like, why is this happening if we have these vaccines rolled out? I don't get it. I mean, like, if my sort of like logic in my mind is right, which it's probably not, we should see a rotation back into those names. And I guess the growth names would likely correct. But if my logic is wrong and these cyclical names just stay on the mat, that must mean that people don't really have much hope for these vaccines and really much hope for any sort of reopening. So that's like an open question for me as I sort of navigate these markets. Let's see what we had today. Oh yeah, and then Gamestop was up to like $200 and change in the after hours. That is pretty crazy. Yeah, off the back of Chamath saying he bought the 115 strike calls. So I remember seeing that headline come up that Chamath bought those. I remember the first thing that came to my mind was like, maybe I should just buy a call on GME because Chamath might be able to like get the crowd going. And I ended up not because I was taking other trades throughout the day, and I was like, I don't want to load up too much. But yeah, GME ended up being another brilliant day for that stock. Yeah, you can see somebody bought the 200 strike calls for January 29th. So that's crazy. Those are going to pay for them, I believe. Yeah, more GME, more GME. Wow, this is incredible. Yeah, even into the close, more GME. So this is like classic, like, gamma squeeze where everybody starts going for the calls and it just juices the stock. And I see, it looks like we have some call activity for Blink. Blink had a really nice day also. Yeah, so you can see a really nice candle for Blink. Very similar candle to Plug. So I think these names are sort of trading in a basket. We have Plug, and then we have Fuel Cell. So I think it's just like we don't know which of these names is going to be the one. So let's just buy them all in a basket together. Oh, and Fuel Cell up 20% today. One thing I noticed is after the bell today, Plug announced they were doing an equity offering. So I'm curious to see if like just Plug takes a hit or if they'll all end up taking a hit or what. But I could see these EV companies, announce proposed public offering of common stock. This is funny. I like reading these sometimes. Plug, bag holding. LOL, my bag is so heavy I could fill a dumpster with shorts, but it's greenbacks. Oh yeah, man on Silver Mount. I don't even get that. Sometimes these people get like so into the stock they're holding, like this guy. Funny how bears try to turn around this incredible moment of this company to create fear. The offering is nothing but good news. There is only one direction. Plug is heading, and it will continue to be the leading hydrogen energy company globally. That's pretty funny. Who's bag holding till 2040? Oh my gosh. This stuff's so funny. I love it. So I'll have to see, but that was a pretty big aside. And then, it looks like we have some SPCE calls coming in. Those came in at around 10:39. SPCE also had a really good day. SPCE, 16.81%. Really nice play there. And that's coming on volume. So that looks really good. And then, and I thought this was a pretty interesting play. I remember seeing these come down the pipe at around like 10:20, and these are QQQ calls for February. And that's sort of like a really nice bet on the FANG names into earnings. So yeah, that's probably going to pay out for them as well. That about does it for this recap video. Hope you all enjoy, and I will see you all tomorrow.